It started with 2 convention panels. Now we got 16 Final Fantasies, 6 podcasters, with 2 bonus games, but 1 ranking of Final Fantasies. This is the OSMcast. Hey folks, Basil here, and I wanted to say Happy New Year. It's 2026, if you can believe it. So this ostensibly is supposed to be a bonus episode that has almost the entire cast of the OSMcast, as well as the entire cast of the Carbuncle Chronicle, all merged in one gigantic collaboration event of epic proportions, because we recorded longer than an OSMcast plus a Carbuncle Chronicle combined. Now I've slammed it together in just a little over 2 hours, but man, we went for a bit. So this really isn't a bonus episode anymore. In fact, I'm calling it a mainline episode for both the OSMcast and the Carbuncle Chronicle. Please enjoy us arguing with each other about one of the most important video game series to all of us. Take care. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome. I'm Basil.
I'm Anna.
I'm Dylan.
I'm doing this again, apparently.
I'm Tobias.
And I'm Kevin.
Wait a minute.
Wait,
no, I'm not Kevin. And I'm Douglas.
I was waiting for Basil. I'm so used to doing the Carbuncle Chronicle, I'm used to him giving a very long spiel for who he is at the beginning. Wasn't used to just short, I'm Basil.
It's okay. This episode it's a fun, loosey-goosey. This is actually an awesome bonus episode. The whole idea behind awesome bonus episodes is going to be once a month. I'm going to drag some OSMcast folks, possibly Carbuncle Chronicle folks together, and we'll talk about something. And this time, we're kicking it off with a big one. So this one is going out to everybody, but future awesome bonuses will be for our $5 and up patrons, which you can find on OSMcast's website, osmcast.com, and find our Patreon, which is just OSMcast. So what this one is our Final Fantasy ranking episode. So previously, last year in 2024, we went to 2 different conventions, MomoCon and KamiCon HAI. And we did this panel twice, and the audio for each panel got borked. So I thought for a bonus episode, I had these 2 different sets of tiers. I have squished them into 1 tier ranking, and we're going to go through them all, talk about them, and then actually order them in their tiers. So when we're done, we'll have a best Final Fantasy to worst Final Fantasy. That said, a Final Fantasy is pretty darn good. It's not the case of we're saying this game is bad. We're just comparing it to its peers.
No, for some of these, I'm saying that they're bad.
we're gonna rank them, and then no one will ever have to discuss what's better than what on the internet again, because we will solve the problem.
I agree with Dylan.
It'll be as Final Fantasy has ever been.
Exactly.
No one will be happy.
Until 17 comes out. So we're going to start this by going through everything. We're going to talk about Final Fantasies 1 through 16 with our 2 bonus games, from Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy 16 in release order. And then after that, we will then go through the tiers, and we're going to order them in the tiers, and then we're going to come out with our ranking. So, Final Fantasy 1. It came out in December of 1987 in Japan, and in America, July of 1990, and it was the first one. Who wants to talk about it first?
It was the best one.
This was my first Final Fantasy game. I don't think it's a stretch to say that like this and Dragon Warrior and the Nintendo Power coverage of both of those kind of informed how I think about fantasy. It was real tough at the time, but it's a real good game, and if you haven't given it a shot or you've bounced off of a previous version, the pixel remasters are an excellent way to play it. Well-paced, well-balanced, not the struggle it used to be.
Yeah, I'm probably the one that's played it the most recent, because it was within the last, 6 months, year that I played it. I enjoyed it. I played the Pixel Remaster. I had never played it before, and it was definitely, I was, I would complain a lot about, like, how Black Mage would level, because I'm like, why is Black Mage so squishy? Why are they not doing anything? And, but then by the end of the game, it's great. So I enjoyed it a lot. I can definitely see why, it is the first. It definitely paved the way very well for this series, and I really enjoyed it. I like it.
Yeah, you can tell because it's like the NES version, man, you could just die randomly first battle, not get past it. Yeah, the balance and the pacing were not there.
That was what was great about it.
If you targeted something that you later killed, you just lost that attack. Sorry.
Yeah, it was great. As you could tell from my enthusiastic replies, this was my first video game.
Yikes.
I mean,
at all?
I think so. Like, I might have played Mario before this came out, but not by much. You see, the story is the original Nintendo in my house was purchased for my older sister because she had to go into the hospital for the stomach flu. And she had nothing to do all day in the hospital, so they bought her a Nintendo. And then when she got out of the hospital, I wanted to play it too. And she would sit me down in front of it and have me just buy potions on end for hours because you could only buy items one at a time. And so that was my job, was to max out all 99 potions and everything.
Yikes, what grunt work you got saddled with?
Eventually, I asked her if I could please, play the fighting part of the game, so she showed me how to do that, and then I went and I played. I got to roam around in the desert and fight monsters, and if I died, that was fine. If I lived, I was allowed to save, having fought all of these monsters and now a significantly higher level for her.
Yeah, she just used you to buy potions and grind XP.
It was great, and I loved it. And then a little bit later, I actually, after she had beaten the game, I finally got to play the game. And I've been in love with fantasy ever since. This is the first time, I made up a story, was by playing Final Fantasy. I came away with this story that is radically not what is in the game. So to me, the fact that the plot was so loose and was just the bare bones of a structure work was what was so great about it. I could just imagine anything going on in this game. It was so good. And every game after this is simply trying to rehash the goodness that is this game. Also, that is being 6 years old.
Yeah, that was sort of my initial experience because I did not own this game. I didn't really, really dig into Final Fantasy myself, personally playing until Final Fantasy IV, when it was Final Fantasy II in America. Mm-hmm. So I would go to a friend's house and they would start up the game for me and I could play it, but I couldn't save. So I played the beginning of Final Fantasy I a whole lot until I get into the Marsh Cave. And then I would die, and then that would be it. And that was my experience for the longest time, was oh man, this game's so good until I get to the Marsh Cave.
Man, it's amazing we used to play video games the way we did. Final Fantasy I is some real uphill both ways shit.
I remember grinding out gold for insane amounts of time just to buy the spells and weapons I needed to advance. Things are so much better now. We have more than one save slot these days.
Yeah, more than 3.
Yeah, but back in Final Fantasy days, you only had the one.
Yeah.
Your one wild and precious save slot.
And that was an invention. That was innovation. That was something new. to RPGs. Dragon Quest made you write out long-ass passwords. They didn't think about a battery.
Yeah.
It did? No, I'm pretty sure that also had save.
It did for America, but in Japan,
Okay.
it did not. Remember, we got Dragon Quest years after it came out in Japan.
Yeah, I'm very fuzzy on the timelines of these things coming over. I know Nintendo Power did a lot of coverage, I think, to kind of prepare American audiences for this new thing called the role-playing game.
Yeah. And it's funny because our next Final Fantasy II, we didn't really get it until years later. We're talking lots of years later. In Japan, it came out in 1988. We didn't see it until its earliest version in America in 2003, which I think was on the PlayStation, and it was a really crappy version because it was taking this NES game and you were running it on a CD, and the load times for everything just took forever. And so this much snappier game was just wasted on this CD format.
Yeah, when Square first did those Final Fantasy PS1 re-releases, they did not know how to fucking code these things on a CD. They didn't know how to emulate. They didn't know any of that shit, so everything had loading times.
Yeah, I was so excited and then was so disappointed when I actually played those collections.
So I definitely recommend the Pixel Remaster for 2 specifically. But 2 is also just wild in its own ways because this came from the same times as, for example, Castlevania 2, which had a wildly different structure than Castlevania 1 did, or Zelda 2 Adventure of Link, which again had a wildly different structure to it than the first Legend of Zelda.
I was just gonna say, it's so different that it's not even... It's barely a sequel, just because the character is the same, but otherwise it's a completely different experience from Zelda 1.
It was my first Zelda, so...
I'll say, but Final Fantasy II was, again, a very different experience. They were trying very different things. While you do have 4 characters, 4 Heroes of Light, and it's a turn-based role-playing game, all the actual systems that's running everything ran so wildly different.
Yeah.
Because Quazu, the guy behind it, just had different ideas of how he wanted to portray things. For one thing, it has an actual story. Now, the one didn't, but they had named characters. Characters would come and go from your party. Characters would die. It was a much different, much more involved experience. And then the battle system, while it was still, again, you take your turns, everybody takes their turns, you level up, you get abilities, but you level up by doing the things. If you want to be a better fighter, you have to attack with your weapon. If you want to have better HP, you've got to get hit. If you want a better version of your heal spell, you have to heal people with your existing heal spells. It is...
That could really lock you down, because I remember when I played the Pixel Remaster, I didn't level up Asuna, and then I got real surprised that I couldn't cure, like, poison or whatever with it.
That was that the one, Basil, that I play with guides. I'm a wuss. And I feel like I got to, there was one boss, it was like, okay, you need to level up, I think it was Asuna and maybe one other spell, like you need to this level before you really go in here, and I'm like, okay, cool, I got this. So I spent like half an hour to an hour maybe leveling up this one spell, and I get in there, and I had just the way I'd been playing, I was so over leveled anyway. By the time I even got to use that spell, it was dead.
Yes, that was it.
I was like, wait.
Also, using guides is not necessarily a bad thing, because like if you saw the guide that like Nintendo Power put out for a lot of these, yeah, those were extremely detailed. We all used guides.
I remember Anna's experience of constantly dying in the random battles leading up to bosses, and then curb stomping the bosses.
Oh, it was it was the corals, because it was I think you said this is the one that the corals had the bug, and it still has a bug in the Pixel Remaster where it can paralyze you and then one-shot you, and I was getting so frustrated.
Oh, yes.
I was like, why is this killing me?
I think they might maybe have fixed it now, because they're still updating the Pixel Remasters even. I think it got some updates like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, just like last week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting about bugs and things like that, this also had a keyword system where you'd have to learn about a topic before you could progress the story, whereas most other Final Fantasies. And if you miss that keyword, you're just stuck. So it's way more confusing, but it's more like the old school text adventures or something like that.
This is where Desert Rose came from. One thing I want to mention, and I think Basil, you had kind of touched upon this earlier in the comparisons to Zelda 2, but more so than just the difference between the first and the second, the difference itself is another staple of the series. Every game from here on out uses drastically different mechanics. And sure, there are some inflection points that are similar between some of these games that define what we think of when we think of the series as a whole. The fact that none of them are really direct sequels to each other, the fact that none of them have the same exact system as the other, that really, really started here with how different things they were trying with FF2. And we see them completely push the envelope with games leading on to the more action-oriented stuff, for instance, or the stuff from like the tactics games. Like, I think that's something that really defines Final Fantasy as a whole, is their willingness to try new things and diversify.
Yeah, that is absolutely the case. No Final Fantasy is quite alike. There are certainly defining aspects of the series, but they all do something different. Much like how Final Fantasy III was different because it introduced the whole concept of a job system. And again, we didn't get actual 3 until decades later. It came out in 1990 in Japan, but we didn't actually get it until they did a whole DS remake in 2006.
I really liked that DS remake, though. I had a lot of fun playing that game, and my understanding is that it was actually very different from how the initial first game was, but I still really felt like I was getting back to kind of the roots of a lot of the thought threads that exist in Final Fantasies seem to kind of start manifesting there, or they seem to crystallize there.
I did not like 3. Too many jobs. Way too. I like this. The story was fine. It was, I enjoyed it, but oh my gosh, too many jobs.
Yeah, job games are not really good if you're completionist. I think I did that with 5 when I played the Pixel Remaster. And yeah, you can burn out real quickly or be overwhelmed real quickly. It's a different style of play.
Are we talking about the tier list at all yet? Or are we just talking about the Final Fantasies?
We're just talking about the Final Fantasies.
Okay. Then I gotta keep things under my hat for then. Okay.
Yeah.
We say that, but it is funny for me because the game that probably most closely resembles 3 is 5.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
which I'm currently playing.
I played 5. I played the Pixel Remasters all in a row. And I remember me playing 3 made me really high on the Pixel Remaster of 3, which inadvertently made me much lower on the Pixel Remaster of 5, because Anna's issues with 3, the fact there were so many jobs, made me spoiled for when I played Final Fantasy V, which has less jobs. Because what 3 does, it doesn't tell you this, but what it does is that it gives you one set of jobs, then in the second half of the game, it gives you another set of jobs, which are actually just better versions of your previous jobs. It's trying to sort of emulate.
Yeah, Basil finally told me that at the end of the game.
Yeah, the idea is that it's sort of emulating the feel of Final Fantasy I, where you had your first set of jobs you picked for your characters, then you got upgraded versions of those jobs later on in the game. And they don't tell you that as clearly in 3 because it just treats them as new jobs. And so when I played 5, I kept waiting for my second set of jobs. And that's not what 5 does. 5 does, you get your jobs. Now the fun is mix and matching your jobs together to figure out the play style that you want to play this game as. Whereas I was like, cool. I've got my caller, summoner, kind of. Where's the better summoner? Where's like the real one? No, man, I had the real one. You've got it. It's there. You're playing it. What are you doing? Just play your summoner. But I did not realize that at the time. Another thing I really liked in 3 was like it's got one city, but the city was so big they broke it out into 4 parts to make it fit on an NES cartridge. And that was, even playing the Pixel Remaster, seeing what they did and the scale they're working with kind of blew my mind a little bit. Even just a couple of years ago, I was like, man, they were doing some stuff in Final Fantasy III. And I think the big difference, besides the whole, 3D graphics versus pixel art between the DS and the regular version of 3, as it were, is that the DS version actually put names and personalities to the 4 Onion Knights, whereas in the original and the Pixel Remaster, the Onion Knights, while you can pick their classes and stuff, they're kind of a gestalt whole where they talk to each other, but there's no like real distinct personalities or anything between them. So I could definitely see someone really enjoying the DS version versus the not DS version just for that aspect alone. But speaking of characters, we now come to my most nostalgic, my first reals Final Fantasy, which I played in 1991 as Final Fantasy II, but it was actually Final Fantasy IV. And this is the game that changed my life.
This is for you what Final Fantasy I was for me.
It was a huge upgrade from the NES version of Final Fantasy, right? Like I remember playing it and you have so many more colors. The quality of life is just a lot better in a lot of the mechanics and stuff. This was a huge upgrade from 1, and then 6 was a huge upgrade from this. And at that time, in the 90s, that felt huge, even though today, they aren't that big a difference. I do remember having that same sort of feeling about like, wow, this is something really new and different.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately for me, I got Final Fantasy II after Final Fantasy III.
Oh.
So I had already played Final Fantasy III because, my parents were just like, we have a Nintendo. What do we need a Super Nintendo for?
My dad did the same thing.
So, they only accidentally shipped a couple of copies of Final Fantasy III to some like warehouse in Ohio, and my dad just happily coincidence accidentally managed to get a hold of one copy. So I had already played Final Fantasy III, and only then later went back to play Final Fantasy II, again, real numbers 6 and 4. But at the time, I just thought, oh man, 4 is just such a downgrade, 2 is just such a downgrade from 3, which I think is normal. That's the progression of things, but, by the time I played it, I already felt like it was old.
Well, that's fair. But it's wild because you don't think about these things now, but back in the time, things were moving so quickly, especially as we were kids. Again, we did not get Final Fantasy I until 1990. In Japan, it was 1987. In Japan, when we were getting Final Fantasy I, Japan was already getting Final Fantasy III. And when we both got Final Fantasy IV, that was in 1991. There was only a year difference between us getting Final Fantasy I and us getting Final Fantasy IV. And it didn't, at the time, it felt like it was forever between the two. But it was only actually a year and change.
Well, and some of that may also depend on when you got a Super Nintendo, like the system changing over.
That's true. That is very true. And so, for me, Final Fantasy IV is the game that changed my life. Final Fantasy IV was, I've said this before in the panels that of course you can't hear because the audio didn't work, but I feel there's going to be some piece of media that will eventually break your brain in the way that you realize that, oh, this is telling stories. This is communicating themes. There is a difference between watching a thing going, oh, that's cool, and something impacting your life and realize, oh, telling stories is important. Media can be important. This is the video game that made me pay attention to the medium of video games, but also to the medium of storytelling. I think for a lot of folks, that could be Star Wars. I think that Star Wars is that moment for a lot of folks when their brain gets broken just that way, and it such a big impact on them. I think for a lot of folks nowadays, that might be One Piece or Dragon Ball Z. But for me, it was Final Fantasy IV. And that was the game that made me realize that stories are important, and frankly, put me on the course of being the person who I am today, but also like the person I am today, talking into a microphone, wanting to discuss media, wanting to talk about why I like things, why I dislike things, what's important about things, and the messages they may have. And it all started with me with Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah, it is really impactful, I think. One of the mechanics you see in this, and I don't know, is this a spoiler? As you can only have like 4 or 5 people in your party. I can't remember.
5.
You have 5.
5. So as you swap out characters, like there ends up being like reasons they have to leave. And some of them are really heavy, heavy for a guess I would have been like 10, 11 when I played this maybe. So I can definitely see the storytelling element there. I do have an old man story about this where I remember renting this the weekend of the blizzard of 93, and I can still remember going through the Tower of Zot, like where you fight the 3 sisters.
Yeah.
And like it would cut out. And then I'd start it back up again, and then the power would cut out. And like, we ended up like being out of power for like a week or so. Maybe not that long, but I just remember I have that memory seared in my mind with this game for some reason.
So because I did not play, my first Final Fantasy was 8, so I did not play any of these when I was a kid, and within the last year, I have like a reverse nostalgia kind of for it because I played 14 for the last 11 years. So playing through the first, 4 games, I'm like, oh, hey, there's that. Or, oh, hey, there's that. And, like, Shadowbringers is one of my favorite expansions, so getting to see the Crystal Tower, when it was like, all right, it's time to go to Labyrinth of Ancients, I'm like, oh, God, not again. Because of the raid from 14. So I have the different, like, while people are picking out the references in 14 from the older games, I'm picking out the references in the older games from 14. And I find it fun.
And what's wild about 4 is that in addition to all the other stuff I mentioned about it, one, its music was, again, just such a leapfrog over what came before, mostly due to Enix games, because they were having, I believe it was ActRaiser, that had such good sounding music, and Uematsu heard its soundtrack, and he looked at his compositions and the MIDIs they were using for 4 and went, oh no, they are not beating me at this. I want better sound samples, and I want better sounding music for this game. They are not beating me in this. And so there's that, but also the whole active time battle system that they created for 4 has had a ripple effect on Final Fantasy as a whole, where the whole idea was they were trying to sort of emulate F1 racing, but as a battle system. And that's why you have, when you pick your ability, it's no longer good. Your team goes, bad guys go. Your team goes, bad guys go. You pick your ability, and then there's a little bit of time between you choosing your ability and when your ability goes off. And it varies between if you're casting a magic spell or doing a summon or you're just hitting attack. And that created a whole different way of handling fighting in Final Fantasy that changed the rest of the games forever.
Yeah, this is like the name says, this is where we see action-based gameplay here. And like a lot of people continue to bring up when we talk about what is Final Fantasy, it being a turn-based game. No, it hasn't been turn-based since 1991. Like, they're not discrete turns you're taking. Sure, like, time stopped for a little bit. If you're a chicken, if you're not playing on active, which you should be, we all sort of learned how to quickly menu through things really fast because the game sort of encouraged you to do that. And sure, they're not action-based in the same way that, for instance, Kingdom Hearts or, FF15, 16, the newer ones are. Like, we still have that kernel of action here. And I think that's something people need to remember. ATB was around from 4 through 9 for a large chunk of the game, that it has not been turn-based.
In my mind, like, ATB, first of all, I think you're lying to yourself if you say that ATB is not a turn-based system. It is a turn-based system, but it's a very nuanced turn-based system. And in my opinion, it's the ultimate way to do a turn-based system. Like, they figured it out right here in Final Fantasy IV. And every time we see it again crop up, like when we see it again in 6 and in 7 and in 8 and in 10, it all harkens back to this, and I think it was perfect.
And so now that they had the ATB system in place, clearly what they really needed now was to really reinvent the whole job system to go along with it, which brought us to Final Fantasy V. And again, we didn't really get it until 1999 when we got the botched PlayStation versions that load times everywhere. Japan got it in 1992. It's also wild to think that, man, every year almost they were putting out Final Fantasies. Like they were a machine over there at Square Soft. So 5 job systems. I know I talked about it a moment when I compared it to 3, but it's a fun little breezy game. I remember playing it last year. I finally did the 4-job fiesta, which has been an online thing where you go to a website and it gives you assigned jobs from each crystal, and you have to use those jobs to play the whole game with just these 4 jobs. And it makes you have to really think about because any combination can technically work if you grind enough, but it makes you really have to think about how these jobs talk to each other and how you play the game. And I found that second time playing through in that version with the 4-job fiesta, I had a much better time playing 5 than I did my first time through, because I figured out what I was doing wrong with 5, what my expectations were 5 were wrong, and now that they've been properly calibrated, I was having a much better time with it.
Yeah, I had a good time with 5. I didn't play it until that PlayStation relaunch of it, but I did have a good time with it back then. I was very happy about the pirate character.
Ferris is great.
I'm currently on that.
Yeah, Ferris is just amazing. Ferris was the original Cloud. I'll say it.
For me, what's interesting about 5 is that I know a lot of people will talk about how 5 is not the story game, it's the combat game. Don't worry about its story. Its story is just there to let you play with the cool battles and play around with the job system. But I really like the story in 5. I thought it was a good one. I liked the characters. It introduced Gilgamesh, who is just amazing in every iteration that he gets to be in since then. I really liked Galoof. I liked Kryles, and their thing together. I liked Ferris. I even liked Bartz, or Butts if you played the fan translation.
Butts.
And Lena. And I remember my first time playing through 5 going like, man, I really like the story. I don't know about this job system though. But now that I'm recalibrated, I now think both are good.
Yeah, I felt like 5 was perfecting the job system that 3 had put forth, and I think it does, and I think that pretty much every game that makes a job system based game, like, what are those, like the Bravely Default series and a couple of other Final Fantasies, when they do a job system, this is basically the gold standard that they are trying to live up to. And some of them do. Some of them succeed and surpass it. But this is still, like, the crystallization of what they're going for was done in this Final Fantasy. And I do think the story is charming, too.
And the game that came after Final Fantasy V is, well, Final Fantasy VI, which was our Final Fantasy III. And I understand why Umi would think why 6 was so much better than 4. I totally get it, because to me, Final Fantasy has had at least 2 sort of overarching, not plots as far as storylines, but 2 culmination games, where Final Fantasy VI, I feel, is the best overall expression and ultimate endpoint of the arc of Final Fantasies 1 leading into 6. It is the best of all worlds. It's got some of the best music. It has some of the best characters. It has some of the best battles. It's not exactly like 5 because you don't have a job system. Every character sort of has their own job that they're doing, so it's more like 4 in that respect. But with the introduction of Magicite and with certain relics that you can equip, there is still a decent amount of customization that you could put onto these characters to change the play style how you want to. And the storytelling is on another level. The graphics are another level. Like, everything that 6 does is just the best at what it does.
Yeah, I really remember the graphics, like I said, kind of striking me as something different. Like, you start out with that Mode 7 scene where you're taking the Magitech armor across the snow. But even the maps, like the maps in the previous Final Fantasy game, like they're basically grids. You've got like little square sprites that kind of peek up into the next tile. But in 6, you have like these really tall, expressive sprites. You have multiple layers of maps. You have maps that are really not, like, you can't look at them and go, oh yeah, that's a grid system. Like, they really do a lot of fancy stuff with them, and it just, like, it feels like a different experience. Or it did in the 90s.
Yeah, again, back in the 90s, I don't think it was Christmas. I think he got a hold of the game earlier than that. But I still remember it was like a late autumn evening. We had a fire going in the fireplace, and Dad gave me Final Fantasy III, and we were so flipped out about it. I've been playing Final Fantasy I for years and years and years and years, and I'd beaten it so many times and I finally got a Super Nintendo, and we finally got Final Fantasy III, and we put it in, and when it opened up to that beautiful snowfield, and we were just watching it, just completely awestruck at how gorgeous it was. And I said to my father, "Look, it looks like real snow." Remember, I'm from Alabama. I have no idea what real snow looks like. But I was just so blown away by these graphics back then.
Oh, and it was with that scene though, with the mechs walking, the Magitech armors walking, and you see the crawl of all the people who made this game. It was such a cinematic thing. It really reminded me as it was like the best evolution of the start of Final Fantasy IV, where it starts off with the Red Wings doing their thing and that music playing.
I thought movies were over when I saw this game. Like, what reason do we have to tell stories through movies when we can do this?
Yeah, 6 is a special time. 6 is a very special game. I know that whenever I say 6 is better, or it's the best, like, of that style of Final Fantasy, and I'll go, wait, I thought your favorite is 4. I went, yeah. 4 is my favorite nostalgic pick.
You don't need the caveat of that style of Final Fantasy, you know.
You kind of do.
I mean, in the very least.
Pixel art was where it's at.
All right, old man.
Sure, Grandpa.
Rabble. Yourself. But I think I gotta agree though. Like this is, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't feel weird to say that the more recent one, the most recent Pixel one that we talked about so far is the best because that's how numbering systems work. But this is sort of that final hurrah for this. Like, sure, the games would continue and they would continue to use similar systems and whatnot, but they would drastically change from 7 onward. I think we would all agree with that here. But this does feel like the pinnacle of that 16-bit style of gameplay, like the writing, the characterization, the art itself, the pixel art, everything changes from here on, and 6 is sort of the pinnacle to that. I can see why a lot of people have it at that as their nostalgia pick. A lot of people continue to bring up 6, and I feel like that's why.
Yeah, there are a few more RPGs from this era that are comparable to 6 that came out a little bit after 6 and were also made by Square Enix. Like, when people talk about Final Fantasy VI, they talk about it in the same breath as they talk about Chrono Trigger, as they talk about Secret of Mana, all coming out of from the same company, and they were just the pinnacle of RPGs at that time.
Especially for us in America, because we weren't actually getting Dragon Quest anymore.
Yeah, that's true. What was the last one, like 3 or 4?
I think we did get 4, but it was, I think, such a small production run that good luck if you got to play 4 in America. But yeah, so after 6 was the last one that was on Nintendo systems for a long time. And then they transitioned it on over to PlayStation with Final Fantasy VII, which came out in 97. So there was also a big time difference, especially for us, now that we were actually getting these games closer to when Japan was getting these games. We got Final Fantasy VI came out in 94, and it was a whole 3 years later did it come out in 97. And it changed everything. It was suddenly everything was like these polygon graphics on these CG backgrounds. They had CG cutscenes that were full motion video, but not like Sewer Shark, like Sega CD full motion video. It was impressive versus bad.
This was the biggest game in the world at the time it came out.
Yeah.
I don't think you can say that about any other Final Fantasy game, and that's not being disrespectful. It was the biggest game in the world when it came out, and it defined a generation of hardware. The fact that it came out on PlayStation and not a Nintendo console was a big deal.
It's the reason why the PlayStation won that round of console wars, even though I think there are people who would argue with me about that, but I also think that they're wrong in that the PlayStation set up what would become the PlayStation 2, and the PlayStation 2 definitely knocked it out of the park with its generation of consoles, and that all kind of hones back to Final Fantasy VII being on the PlayStation 1 instead of on the Nintendo 64, and Final Fantasy VII was just so amazing. It was so good at the time.
It's also probably the Final Fantasy game that I think people are most jaded about, because it's the one with all the movies, all the one-offs, all the spin-offs.
Yeah.
It's the one that's probably the jankiest to play on a modern system, like the original. Like it's janky as hell to play it today. Like it really was a artifact of its era, because those graphics were groundbreaking at the time, but they didn't age well.
No. No, they did not. Even as you shifted just to PlayStation 2, it was already starting to look older. But then trying to go back to it after you've been playing on the PlayStation 4 for a little while, you just start cringing.
I will say this, and I said this before, but probably the most impressive thing about Final Fantasy VII Remake was that it somehow awakened my caring about Final Fantasy VII again. Like, I suddenly was transported back to 1997, and, I cared about these characters. And it was like, oh shit, I forgot these feelings existed.
Yeah, playing this game with my husband sitting next to me, he did not realize that Final Fantasy VII was deeply, affectation, much like a religion is to some other people. That the whole time we were sitting there watching it, and he'd be like, is this something they made up? And I would be like, no, this happened in this zone on this map at this time.
I remember playing, much like John, I didn't remember how much I actually liked 7 until the remake came out. So I guess congratulations, Square Enix, the game did its job.
I remember even back when like 9 and 10 were contemporary, you were arguing with me that 7 wasn't so good.
Yeah, no, I remember playing 7 the first time and going like, oh, this was great. Then I would play it again and go like, well, this wasn't as good as I thought it was. And every time I played it, I had a lower opinion of it. And this was one of those things where you only have so many games, so you play the games that you've got until you wrung them dry.
Yeah, you frequently would complain back then about plot holes, and I would try to make the argument to you that plot holes were like, the plot holes that exist in 7 are a feature, not a bug. Like, they give you just enough room so that you can really insert yourself in there. I don't know how true that actually holds up. I just remember many a long, fond night having those conversations.
You know, it's funny. You know, I say 8 was my first Final Fantasy, but technically, my first introduction to Final Fantasy was on my Gateway 95, and it came with a CD, and it had demos for Tomb Raider 2 and Final Fantasy VII. And I remember because the demo was like a little Coliseum-y type battle thing, and I remember Cloud, you got to fight with him, and I remember you got to summon Shiva. And I remember watching the little cutscene they do for it, and I was just like, I love her. Oh, I need to play this. And then apparently I didn't realize what it was until much later.
I'm kind of with what you were saying with Basil's reaction was. Like, I kind of bounced off of it hard. I played it late. I didn't get a PS1 until much later in the cycle. And like I said, I always liked the pixel art better. You'd kind of imagine it as whatever you want it to be. But I think this is not a ding against it, but I think a lot of it is like you playing it in your teenage years, you're going to have more feelings about it. I definitely remember having that sense with like Link to the Past, right? You go in the dark world and like thinking how moody it was, and it's like, no, I'm a teenager. I'm moody.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to argue that like, your favorite Final Fantasy is whichever one you played around that time. So, I can understand there's a difference of opinion there too.
I think there's just something to be said about that. Experiencing the game when it first came out, because you're experiencing like the bleeding edge of technology at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And echoing of what Dylan said, I remember thinking that the world of Ruin in Final Fantasy VI was so dark and angsty, and no, it's a little bit browner. It's just that I was darker and angstier by the time I got to it.
But you're also not wrong. It is a world of ruin.
Yeah.
It is where life has gone to die. Anyways, with 7, replaying it, I also discovered that a lot of my issues, a lot of what I thought were plot holes, were more that they were
translation errors,
bad localizations. Yeah, translation errors, where Sony was handling the translation now, and it wasn't just Squaresoft doing their thing. It was Sony handling it, and they were getting some of these things wrong because they were in such a rush to get that game out because there was so much text. And it's gotten a couple of polishes over the years where if you play it now, it's a little bit better. But also replaying it, because I wouldn't play the original game when I was playing the remake of 7, and I was struck on how much they were playing with the form, how with these pre-rendered backgrounds, they would really do some funky things where your character would move on the screen, and they would do some interesting video effects with what you were playing through, which was emulating the experience of playing as Cloud. And 7 was taking some storytelling swings that I didn't realize they were doing back when I was a teenager, but now that I am a 40-something adult, I now recognize that, they were cooking with things that I didn't realize they were cooking with when I first played this game.
Mm-hmm.
which is also what I kind of feel a lot of folks kind of feel that way now about Ben Starr's favorite game, Final Fantasy VIII.
So Final Fantasy VIII had the great misfortune of coming after Final Fantasy VII.
It looked better.
I swear, I have such a love-hate relationship with this game because it's my favorite. It's my first Final Fantasy, so I've got that connection. But I've never beat it. One day I will, but I've never beat it.
I still have not gone back to play it again. I've told you many times, Anna, that I need to go back and replay it because, you know, enough time has passed that I think I can play it again with fresh eyes. But at the time, I was just so disappointed that it wasn't more Final Fantasy VII. Like, I just wanted Final Fantasy VII again, only with new characters and a new plot.
Yeah.
And
I mean, in some ways,
Final Fantasy VIII, it had new characters. It was a different plot.
and you could argue after Cloud, you have a Squall.
Wow. Wow, Riesel. Wow.
Well, my biggest complaint at the time was that Squall was not fun to move across the screen. Like, he was too tall and lanky, and he didn't move fast enough. Like, it felt like he should be running a whole lot faster than he actually plodded along. But I don't know how valid that complaint is. I don't know if that's just the complaint I had because I had a general dissatisfaction because it wasn't Final Fantasy VII and 7 was so good. But 8 did have a lot of neat things going for it that, you know, when you come back and you revisit, I hear people really like it upon second brush.
Man with the machine gun slaps.
Oh yeah, all the music in that game is on point, for real. But to go back to the point about mechanics, I feel like this is a game that, like FF2, is a game that if you allow yourself to get like trapped in the mechanics, it's a game you're going to enjoy less. But if you just roleplay it and just play the game like it's, you know, meant to be played and just, you know, enjoy the experience, a lot of people, I've been hearing a lot of people say that's the best way to play it, and they've been enjoying a lot more turning off that optimization part of their brain and trying to get the best part of the experience.
And I don't care if the game had it. Even to this day, I will still hit like an R2 type thing trigger whenever you hit with something. Because that's what you do. Whenever you hit with Squall's Go, you had to hit the R2 whenever you hit things.
Yeah, trigger for the gunblade.
Yeah. Which I didn't know. My brain didn't put that together at the time because I'm an idiot. But yeah, like, and so I actually did that. I think I went to 10 after I played that, and I still wanted to do it then.
I had that reflex honed into me from the Super Mario RPG, where if you hit the A at the right time, you did an extra jump.
I just played that when it re-came out. So again, I'm playing all the childhood games I'm playing now.
It's okay. Yeah, but 8 had the trigger thing with the gunblade, which was cool. And it also had the whole thing where you could attach spells to your stats, and you could draw spells from enemies and collect them in different ways. And it is a really interesting system. And I think they didn't really play with systems like that to that level since 2 and 4. I think that was, and while they never really played that system in that particular manner again, it was once again another example of them playing around with the systems of the game. And no Final Fantasy is exactly alike another, even if at the time what we really wanted was just another 7. But what we did get after 8 was Final Fantasy IX, which is wild because Final Fantasy IX was the quote retro throwback one.
Yep.
Because they knew with 10 they were about to take some swings. And so they wanted to go back and hearken to a simpler time of Final Fantasies 1 through 6 before they made that leap again. And so 9 was this really nostalgia-filled take on what Final Fantasy was. And for a lot of folks our age, it's also the best one.
I remember when it came out, the big complaint about it was that it was a love letter to the fans. But also, at the same time, don't you really like getting a love letter? Like, who doesn't like getting a love letter?
What? No.
I mean, I didn't really play any of the Sony era games, but this is the one that, like, I most feel like I should go back and play. Maybe this or 12, but, like, just the look of it does kind of make me think of old school Final Fantasy. So I can definitely see the whole love letter to the fans thing.
Well, and that's also kind of like an ironic part of it, is that while at the time we were saying this was basically just a love letter to the fans, we were saying that like that was an insult, when that, if you think about it, that's really a very good strength to it. There was actually a lot of stuff that it had that it was interpreting just in completely different ways.
You know, you had summons, which you could actually do like long versions or short versions. They realized that people didn't want to watch the entire cutscene of a summon every time you did a summon. It had the idea where you could actually attach the abilities that you would learn for characters, kind of like you did with the Magicite in 6, but it was for like things like strengths against petrification, or certain skills would be actually attached to your equipment, and as long as you kept that equipment long enough, you would actually let that character learn that ability from that equipment. It was, even though the characters looked more, they were squatter, they looked more akin to what people thought like chibi styles look, because they were trying to sort of emulate the look of sprites, but with polygons. It was still also Final Fantasy IX. They were also bringing to bear all their knowledge on how to work the PlayStation like no one's business. So the art style also meshed better with what you played on the field and in the town maps, and also in battles. Everything kind of looked the same. It wasn't like as stark differences like you got in 7, where people looked one way and then in the battles they looked a completely different way. Everything felt much more uniform in 9. They did a thing that I think now 14 does really well, where they take previous concepts they did in previous Final Fantasies and reinterpret them in 9 as a more, at the time, modern take on things. Like 9 did, it was a nostalgic game. It was like a love letter to fans, but it did a really expert job in doing all of that.
This was the first game with furries in it. Conceptually, I felt like with its story, it did a lot of different things that were a real departure from the stories that they had been telling, and from the stories that they were then going to tell. I guess they were kind of more in line with the older style of stories, but just they had such a much bigger range to be able to complete it.
And I also should mention, before Ben Starr gets mad at me, about Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII did also introduce Triple Triad.
It did.
So that I just need to mention that. But yeah, from 9, we then move on from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2, and that was a generational graphical leap that I think we haven't really seen since. Not really. I think once the PS2, from the leap from PS1 to PS2 was so huge, it was the equivalent of Nintendo to Super Nintendo, and that's where we get Final Fantasy X.
The first Final Fantasy I actually beat. I love 10. 10's probably one of my favorites.
10 is a good one.
I remember I got it for Christmas the year it came out, and just so mesmerized by how good looking that game was at the time.
Yeah, I also got it for Christmas the year it came out. I took it upstairs immediately into my wing of the house, turned off all the light, and just ate sausages. It was so pretty, I almost didn't feel the crushing loneliness.
Well, that was dark.
It was also around the same time Devil May Cry came out, because I got that for Christmas that year, too. That game was fucking... Man, I have never felt so amazed the first time I played Devil May Cry. Just, wow. Anyway, different podcast.
But that's the case with PS2, where because it was so much more powerful than anything that came before it, they were doing stuff that you didn't see before. Like everything, even though you sort of had the pre-rendered look at how they handled the maps, it was still all being done in real time. It was all polygons. There was a level of immersion to it that you didn't get before. the cutscenes look just on another level and much closer to what you would actually be seeing when you played the game. Just the level of graphics just increased that much more. And it also introduced the whole concept of voice acting. They never had that in a Final Fantasy game before.
That's true. I forgot about that. That is something that they added. They only let you name Titus, and then they suspiciously never said Titus's name.
Yeah, that was kind of like in the last hurrah for the silent protagonist, you know?
Titus wasn't even a silent protagonist. They just casually never said his name.
Yeah, he talked all the time, but, you know, they wanted you to be able to put yourself in the game, and that was the... yeah, of course, Atlas does that now with, like, Persona and Metaphor. You know, they'll call your character Chief or Boss or, you know, Senpai or something. They'll go 8 ways to Sunday to avoid saying the character's name.
I mean, 14 does that. You're the main character, and they never say your name.
Yeah, it's funny.
I wish it was like the aforementioned Sewer Shark, where they would just give you a nickname based on how well you played.
Oh.
And 10 also played around with the battle system in its own ways because you can actively screw around with turns. Whereas before, up until this point, it was just ATB, but 10 sort of has its own thing where you could actually see in a row, you know, in a part of the screen where everyone was taking their turns. And you could mess around with that just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, conceptually, it wasn't like different than ATB, but it basically pre-calculated the next couple turns for you, so you could, rather than play the guessing game of, you know, how many turns you'd get, you could actually see, like you said. And it really came into play with the Aeon summons, because they would drastically change turn order as well. So, like, it kind of wasn't different, but it really was, because it made you, consider that and think about several turns in a row.
I feel like it was just as different conceptualization of the ATB system, but because they laid it out like that, they allowed you to put a level of strategy in that you didn't have access to beforehand.
Mm. And the big thing here is you switched out your party members. So rather than having 4 people, you had access to everybody. You just had to switch them in. And that was part of taking into consideration those turns, because they would have their own speed stats as well, but you would have access to everybody. And everybody basically had the one thing they were good at, whether it was like Waka's range or Aran's ability to, like, the piercing stat for his weapons. So, like, you really had to do the whole Pokemon typing against the enemies you would fight.
Yeah. I would sit there and dream for hours on end on what kind of Aeon I would be. Like, that was my original persona, was my Aeon. I don't know if anybody else was that kind of nerd.
Well, for me, I didn't, but that was because I played 10 much later than everybody else did, timeline-wise, because I didn't own a PlayStation 2. I could only afford one system, and that generation I had chosen the GameCube. So I didn't actually play a lot of PS2 until very late into the PS2's lifespan. It was actually, I played more PS2 while most people playing like PS3 games. So 10 never struck me like it struck a lot of folks. I remember borrowing my friend Neil's PlayStation so I could play 10, and I was enjoying 10, but I was getting near to the end of the game, and Neil finally was fed up that I wasn't done with his PlayStation. He came back and went, "I'm going to beat this game for you right now." And he went through, beat the game, went, "All right, see the ending? Cool. I'm going to go home now. I'm taking my PlayStation. Here's your GameCube." But it is cute to think how I thought how different gameplay styles and Final Fantasies could be up until this point, because boy, every game from this point on takes massive swings on how things are different, starting with Final Fantasy XI Online. But I've realized we've been talking about all these other games. We're already in PS2. I do now have to pause before we get into 11. We have to talk about Final Fantasy Tactics.
Thank you.
Which slotted in between 7 and 8, and my brain forgot to look at it. But, Final Fantasy Tactics was, man.
Perfect game?
I wouldn't say perfect. It's very good.
I hate that playstyle so much.
What, you don't like Final Fantasy Chess?
No, I absolutely hated it.
Oh my god, I love Final Fantasy Chess.
So I definitely, I liked what I played of it, but I did eventually bounce off of it. One, because I was expecting a full Final Fantasy game where you go around exploring towns and stuff. And two, because again, that job system, man, you kind of really want to be completionist. If you have those tendencies, it's kind of hard to focus in on what you're supposed to do. I got to a point where I just felt like I would have to grind to win battles. So I can also understand that.
This game is punishing. It is punishing. It has it has character permadeath. And for a lot of people, that's probably their first exposure to, character permadeath.
I loved it so much.
Final Fantasy Tactics also comes from an entirely different evolutionary tree. There are things like Fire Emblem that we had not really gotten in America at the time, but also we had gotten Ogre Battle and Tactics Ogre, but not a ton of people have played them from the director Matsuno. But Final Fantasy Tactics was essentially him taking Tactics Ogre and reinterpreting it in Final Fantasy trappings. And so the reason why Final Fantasy Tactics is so good is that it kind of hit us all like a Mack truck isekaiing us into Ivalice, because it's kind of like, playing Final Fantasy 1, then skipping straight ahead to Final Fantasy 4. But we never actually had Final Fantasy 1. We just went straight to Final Fantasy 4. We're getting a top tier evolutionary product of a game series as our first game in that genre. And so I really do think that it was so good at what it did because it knew what it was doing. It also was, I think, the best version of the 3 and 5's job system at the time, because you could really mix and match your sub abilities based on what you're leveling with these characters. Final Fantasy Tactics, for me, was so good, it burnt me out on the tactical strategy genre entirely. I cannot play Fire Emblem because I played too much Final Fantasy Tactics, this one singular game.
This happens to me a lot with the genre. I'm burnt out on Disgaea, I've burnt out on Final Fantasy Tactics, I've burnt out on Fire Emblem at different points, although Fire Emblem saved themselves by adding fucking. When you add fucking to the game, it changes things.
It became a people breeder simulator, and I really liked that.
Yeah, I'm here for it. It's the only thing that Final Fantasy Tactics is missing is fucking.
Yeah.
Just fucking your way into having new characters and new job types and everything else.
I agree with you, John, 100%.
But it's got such a incredible story. God, what a thudding epilogue it has. Where I remember just being stunned at the ending to this game. I don't know if another Final Fantasy game ever hit me that hard, even with Aerith's death. Just oh shit, they really did that.
Yeah, no, Tactics was something special. But another game that was special was Final Fantasy XI.
That's sure a word for it.
Yeah.
A whole lot of people.
Wow.
This was a dark time for Final Fantasy. We had Spirits Within, and then the shit came out.
You're just selling me on Spirits Within, honestly. I haven't seen that movie, but I'm probably going to now. 11 is good, actually. It's a fine game. Yes, online games are kind of a thing, and I get it. We can talk about it with 14, I'm sure. But 11 is actually, I think it's decent. It's decent. You actually have to give it the college try, I feel like. I'm glad I did earlier this year. It changed my opinion on it completely. I think 11 is a great experience. It's still worth trying if you actually do it and quit being, a hipster about it. 11's a good game. Good writing. Good story.
I wanted to play 11.
Yeah, when it was first announced, I was like, oh yay, 11. And then I was like, no, it's going to be online. I don't have anywhere to play that. So then I dropped off for a while.
Yeah, I went through links to be able to play it and was still unable to play it. I have no idea why I wasn't able to play it. So then I started playing World of Warcraft, and then I fell into the World of Warcraft hole for a good while.
Which was me at the time as well, because Umi fell into the World of Warcraft hole with me.
Yeah, I drug him along.
Oh, no, I drug you along.
I made Basil play Axel while I played Roxas. It was fine.
Okay, you did do that. But no, I played 11 when it was new, and I couldn't get anyone else to play it with me for various reasons. And playing it by myself, especially at that time, was not a fun experience. Playing it now, they've done some things with it that you can totally play it as a solo player, and it's very playable. But it is one of those things where this is, in fact, a genre-defining game for a whole swath of people, especially folks in Japan. Almost every MMO thing that you see happening in anime and in light novels and probably isekais and all of that, even things like .hack, all owe its debt to Final Fantasy XI. 11 is one of its spoilers. It's not going to be the highest game ranked in this list, not by a long shot, but it is one of the most important games on this list. But in my heart, it's no Final Fantasy XII. Final Fantasy XII is immaculate.
I never played. That's on my list to play eventually.
I keep crashing out with Final Fantasy XII. Like, I keep wanting to play it. There's so many good things about it, so many good things that I like. But I felt that I really did not like how they took playing the game away from you in the playing of the game.
12 does some different things. Again, every Final Fantasy from this point on takes massive swings, wild, different swings. And what 12 does is that it introduces the whole concept of the gambit system, which are essentially if-then statements where you can sort of program how your party reacts to things. The real thing to think about when you play 12, though, is that it's really just running ATB, but they've changed the order of what you're doing. In ATB, in like Final Fantasy IV or Final Fantasy VI, your bar fills up, you choose your action, then you do your action. In 12, you choose your action, the bar fills up, does the action. And all the gambit system's doing is letting you pick what you're doing ahead of time and letting you figure things out in the midst. While it is sort of recreating the Final Fantasy XI experience as a single player game, it's still really running the whole ATB thing, only it's changed the order that you pick stuff in. And that can really throw people off.
Yeah, I played 12 largely ignoring the gambit system and just micromanaging everybody.
Yeah, I felt like they did the thing that Final Fantasy will do much worse later on, which is they made it too hard to access the gambit system until too late in the game. I think I probably would have had a lot more fun if they had made it available to me earlier in the game. And it's my understanding that they have since come out with different versions of the game that does update that does like give you access to the if-then statements at a much earlier rate, and that's a lot more that people who had my complaint of it won't let me actually play the game, what's going on, that they have a lot more fun with that. It's just I've never gotten around to playing any of those versions. So
I was just going to say real quick, if you like the gambit system, if that's something you're interested in, go play Unicorn Overlord. That's a really good game.
Yeah. Full of gambits.
But yeah, the Zodiac Age, the remake or remaster of 12 that you can play on modern systems it makes use of the international version where the Zodiac Brave system, where they did a lot of tweaking to it after the fact. Because Matsuno, who was the director of Tactics, he was also the initial director of 12, and then he stressed himself out so bad he went to the hospital, had to quit video games for a long time. And Kawazu, who did 2, had to take over to get the game over the finish line, which is why the ending bits are a little more rushed than the beginning bits. But they did a lot of massaging, and also turning this game into an HD version of it actually only made it prettier. It was able to do things with its graphics that were actually built into the game. Like people's eyes and stuff will move and dart around, and there's like facial expressions that you actually couldn't see that well in the PS2 version that were actually all there, that HD just let it be visible, and suddenly like, oh, there's a lot more expression to these people in this game than you would realize that you can now see. But then we get another culmination point, but it's our other bonus game. The first bonus game is Final Fantasy Tactics. Our second bonus game is actually the evolutionary culmination of Final Fantasies VII through 12. And that's Lost Odyssey. It was a freaking Xbox 360 game that out of everyone here, only I've really played as far as I know. I think Umi's poked at it, but I really think the one that really has dug in deep and drank of this well to its fullest. And it's a real shame. Lost Odyssey is such a good game, y'all. Lost Odyssey is such a good, and again, it is an evolutionary endpoint, much like Final Fantasy VI is for the PlayStation era. You want to be able to take the whole Gunblade system where you hit the trigger. They built that into the game for everybody this time. It's called a ring system, and you can actually attach various gameplay effects. Like if, say, you equip a fire ring to your main guy's weapon and you're fighting an ice thing, you deal the extra damage by actually hitting your ring thing. You want a cool 3D graphics like you had in Final Fantasy X, but you also want like your overworld that you get in Final Fantasy VII. Lost Odyssey's got you at the end of it. Like you get an overworld that you can run around in an airship. It's great. You want all like the cool cutscenes and the 3D storytelling and all that. It's got it. It even does this thing that you don't see in other games where the whole concept is that you play as humans and immortals. And the immortals they're immortal, but because they live for so long, they have forgotten everything because they lived for so long. And so you get to experience their stories as little mini visual novel bits that will come up time to time. Okay, so I know I just said in the actual episode visual novel, but after playing the Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, the brand new version of Final Fantasy Tactics you can play right now on all modern platforms and the personal computer, I'm now pretty sure that I should have said the word sound novel. The bits in Lost Odyssey feel very much more in the sound novel tradition. I didn't realize at the time I recorded it. So there you go. And I guess also props to Victor Hunter, friend of the show, of Axe the Blood God, who really turned me on to the whole concept of what sound novels really are. All right, back to the show. And they got like an actual novelist in Japan to write all these stories, and they did a really good job localizing everything, so it reads really well. It's got a great cast of characters, one of the best SIDs ever. It is such a fun game. It's such a good game, and it's locked to the frickin' Xbox 360 because Microsoft was willing to spend the money on Hironobu Sakaguchi after he had to leave Square because Spirits Within did so poorly. And he formed Mistwalker, and they paid a lot of money to let him make Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon. And Lost Odyssey is so good because it's a frickin' Microsoft Game Studios game. It's stuck on that frickin' Xbox 360.
Yeah.
It's very annoying. I really wish that this game could be played by everybody. I wish they would do just the most basic remasters of remasters, where it's not even essentially remastering as just give me the game just running on modern platforms, at least PC. Just throw it on Steam. I don't care. Let people play this game in a remotely decent version. It's a game locked away from the world, and it shouldn't be.
That's how I feel about the Guardian Heroes remake that's on 360.
Yeah.
Curse you, Microsoft! That is how I felt about Tales of Vesperia for a long, long time. But now Tales of Vesperia is playable, and everybody should.
Played it. I didn't finish it, but I played it.
You got to see the ship I wanted you to see.
True.
Gonna say, in a year where we got Fantasian remade in the ultimate version of that game, I don't think Lost Odyssey is as far off as people think it could be.
Oh, and again, it takes a lot of the same ideas that they have gameplay wise of Final Fantasy X, but to the next level. Like, it is, and the way that mortals and immortals connect to each other, even in gameplay systems, because immortals learn things much like you did in Final Fantasy IX, where you would learn abilities from equipping equipment. The immortals can hang out with their mortal buddy, and they'd pair up as pairs, and the immortals will learn from the mortals because they're unlocking the memories of how to do the things the mortals can just do natively. And so, yeah, mortals, they level up like they're in Final Fantasy IV. They're just learning their abilities as they level up, but then the immortals get to learn the abilities from them. It's so interlocking. The gameplay's good, the storyline's good, everything just ties itself together really, really well, and it's just, But that's not the last Final Fantasy. There was another Final Fantasy. It's my least favorite Final Fantasy, and that's Final Fantasy XIII.
Oh man, the more time passes between when Final Fantasy XIII came out and I succeeded playing Final Fantasy XIII to the end and present day, like the longer that gap widens, the angrier I get at Final Fantasy XIII, the more just irate I just am so mad at this game.
I didn't get off the tutorial bridge, so...
I've got a game for you. It's called Final Fantasy XIII 2. That game is dog shit.
I hear that one of the Final Fantasy XIII sequels is actually good. I hear that from Kevin, and I hear it from nobody else, because nobody else was willing to stick around that long.
I think that's Lightning Returns, yeah.
I did. I played Lightning Returns. It's got a wild-ass story where Lightning is Jesus Christ. And
yeah.
And it ends with the creation of our world, and Lightning lives on it in Paris. Yeah, she lives in the real world now.
And it's a Louis Vuitton model.
Yeah. So that's a real thing.
That makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah, shout out to Ali Hillis.
I'm so mad at this game.
If Lightning Returns was in the list, it'd be much higher than 13. Much higher than 13.
Oh my god, 13.
We can't spend the time to psychoanalyze why Basil hates this game, but it's pretty obvious.
Funny though, because the one thing he likes about the game, I hate.
What's that?
Which is?
The music. I think it's too anime for a Final Fantasy game.
Huh, interesting.
That's an interesting take.
Interesting.
I think anything being too anime for Final Fantasy is kind of a take.
So, I played the whole thing. The thing is, I had been playing World of Warcraft, and I had been leading raids in it. And when I got to playing Final Fantasy XIII, I kind of felt like that's like when you actually finally got to play the game. It was a lot like leading a raid, where you had a set number of formations that you had already gone over with everybody, and you just said, okay, we need to switch to this mode now. Now we need to switch to this mode. And it was a little bit like juggling, and it actually felt pretty good. It just took you 30 goddamn hours to get to that point, and then the story was shit.
I kind of enjoyed Final Fantasy XIII. I enjoy games that tend to be more linear because, you know, there was an era where everything had to be open world, and it was just open and empty and boring, and I couldn't take it.
But it's literally a tube.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. Get me to the end faster. Just tubing all the way.
Why even let me run around at that point? Why let me control the character? Why not just put the character on a conveyor belt and just move me to the end, and I don't even have to run it around for all of, like, the choice I get in getting to run it around?
The very best Final Fantasy game did that. Final Fantasy Tactics. You just moved around on a map from dot to dot.
But you still got to pick which dot you move to.
I mean, you can move from one tube to the next. That's fine.
No.
Right. For a large portion of 10 was like that too. You kind of went from city to city, and I don't think it was later in the game where you really got to choose where to go to as well.
In Final Fantasy X, the tube was at least much better disguised. In 13, they were literal just goddamn tubes.
I'm an apologist for 13. I played it. I thought it was fine. 2's dog shit. 3's weird. But you know, it's a game. Like, it's a game I finished. I finished all 3 of those games. 13-2 is just dog shit.
I'm so mad. I am so mad about 13.
Basically, I think the subtitle of this episode should be literal goddamn tubes.
What the internet is, literal goddamn tubes.
Even the tubes don't really get me. It really is the play. I wish the gameplay systems opened up a little bit earlier, but that doesn't bother me as much as the tonal whiplash they would have in this game.
Oh man,
where I feel it's such indicative of the whole thing when you meet Hope and his mom, and she goes, "Moms are tough," and then immediately falls to her death. Just immediately.
That's not the one that sticks with me. The one that sticks with me is where Saz appears to kill himself, and I really wish he had. Like, not because I dislike the character, but because that's such a big swing and such a dark turn that I would have been all in for that.
Well, and that's right after he gets his cool summon-related abilities and motorcycle or whatever he got, and he's doing this cool, like, thumbs up, like, yeah, man, I got it. And they immediately transition him trying to kill himself. I'm like, and then they explain why, but I'm like, just tell us linearly. This game is nothing but tubes. Can you tell me the story in nothing but tubes then? If you're gonna tube it, just tube it.
We tubing, man. We tubing.
Anyways.
Like, the gameplay is actually good when they let you have it. When they finally let you play the game.
I've heard that phrase so many times. I'm like, that it's a pacing issue, and that's what they chose to do. But it is what it is.
It's a really bad pacing issue. It kills most of the fun of the game for me. It's so bad.
But there's a game that you can play. You can play it right now. In fact, it even has a free trial up to level 70. You can play through the base game and its first few expansions. It's called Final Fantasy XIV.
Crash, dead game. I may not be logged in right now.
It kicks ass.
I just can't. I can't against 5 of you.
It's my favorite game, period. Like, I've not connected to a video game like this. Kingdom Hearts maybe was one I really connected with before, but I mean, I'm on every day. Like, it took me a while to get into it. I mean, I said before, during the 7 demo, I saw Shiva and I fell in love. I didn't log into this game every day until they showed the patch for 6.3.2, and it was Shiva, and I was like, oh crap. And so that's what got me logging in every day.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Final Fantasy XIV when I was playing it, but I'm currently not playing it, so...
You're on the break until the patches are done, and then you'll play for the expansion.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. And I look forward to when the next expansion is about to drop, but I'm kind of done with it for now.
Next patch is Tuesday.
And it's just because I've been playing it for so long, I'm just burnt out. So if anybody else has any more good things to say about, or bad things, let's hear it.
I've taken like small breaks, but when I burn out, I play my other character. But there's always something for me to do that I find entertaining. Like, people that complain that there's nothing to do in this game, then go play something else. If you want to play this game, there's plenty to do. So
I had the exact opposite problem as I was playing it. There was too much to do. Like, I got decision paralysis playing this game because there's so many things that I could be doing that I could be spending my time on.
And I completely understand that. Like, yeah, you just have to pick and choose.
Part of it is the core is very much a solo experience. The main story is you mostly do solo. Sure, there are dungeons and trials you have to do with other people, but you progress by yourself for the most part. And a lot of the optional content is going to be stuff you really need to partner up with people for. So if that's not really your jam, then that's okay. Like, you never really have to do that optional content if that's not really what you want to do. I've talked about it a lot on Carbuncle Chronicle, but I'm very blessed with having a really good static right now. And were it not for that static, I don't think I would be going through Eureka right now. I popped in by myself years before and really was like, yeah, I'm okay on this. I'm never going to do Eureka. But it just so happens that now that I have a really good group of people, we're having a blast going through Eureka at this point. And if that's just not where you're at, that's fine. You don't have to keep playing it. It does have an ending, more or less. You know, it doesn't have to be a live service for every game if you don't want it to be. If you do, that's cool. But also, if you don't, that's cool as well.
At the moment, I feel like Final Fantasy XIV is currently the best MMO. It does, in fact, knock World of Warcraft out of the park in terms of being a good game that is fun to play. And I know people who are still addicted to World of Warcraft won't agree with me, but they're wrong, whatever. And I really don't think that Final Fantasy, like, with this most recent expansion, I really felt like Final Fantasy XIV is struggling under its own weight. The fact that it's been going for so long is its own burden. And I don't think that there's going to be another MMO to replace 14 as the new best MMO until Square Enix makes another one, which I hope they do, because I really enjoyed 14.
So Final Fantasy XIV is an MMORPG, much like Final Fantasy XI, just so we can lay the base ground of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
That is, it is sort of, in a lot of ways, it is the sequel to Final Fantasy XI, but much like how Final Fantasy XI took a lot of its inspiration for things like Ultima Online and especially EverQuest, Final Fantasy XIV took its initial inspirations from World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2. And it is one of those things where it's got a really good MMO design, but it also focuses so much more on the single player story than any other MMO does. And that's why it's considered to be so good, because it's got that good story, but it's also got the good MMO other stuff too.
Yeah.
But clearly we have a lot of thoughts about it, but I will point out that it is the one game that is so good and stays so good that I end up spinning a whole other podcast out about it.
If you want to hear more about what we think about Final Fantasy XIV, go listen to the Carbuncle Chronicle.
If you want to hear what I think about Final Fantasy XIV, just take me over to a quiet alley where these guys aren't listening.
Oh, you've agreed to play this game. We have audio, even if the audio is messed up. You've agreed to play this game.
I've agreed to play this game, but for how long is anybody's guess?
I'll resub if John subs.
I'm not putting money into this game. That's rule number one. I am not doing that.
He can play the free trial. And
This is also the one singular game that you actually don't have to spend money on playing. You don't actually have to buy it. It does have a free trial. It goes through half the actual game, which is the base game and its first two expansions. And that's the enough stuff in each one is its own RPG by itself. 14 is just ridiculously stacked. but we've also been going for almost 2 hours now. We still have 2 more games, and then we got to actually put these stuff together. So, Final Fantasy XV, we got cute boys in cars.
Oh, I hate that car so much.
And Umi hates cars.
I just hate cars. I hate cars. Like, this is the one Final Fantasy I have never played, and I will never play it because of that goddamn car. I just hate the car so much. It makes me so mad. Maybe.
I mean, I get it. I'm not a big high tech in my fantasy thing, and I have no interest in this.
It's just the car. Like, just the car. Like, you want to be in a high-tech fantasy world? That's cool. I'm down with that. I like steampunk, just like everybody else. But oh my god, the car. I just hate the car so much.
I played it. I didn't finish it. But, you know, it's got a soft spot because we used that version of Stand By Me as our first dance for our wedding.
I mean, yeah, that song's good, but that game, like, I can't muster any interest in it at all. Like, you couldn't put one female character in the party. Couldn't do one. Had to have a boys club. Could not care any less about this game.
I'm aware of what happened. I'm aware of what its actual failing is. But I still cannot care because I hate that car so much. I might hate that car more than I hate Final Fantasy XIII. Like, I'm just kind of mad about 13, but I hate that car.
Is it something about that specific car, or is it just the idea
it's
of
all
cars?
cars. I hate cars. I just don't like cars. I don't like driving. I end up feeling like I'm isolated in my house a lot of the time because I don't drive. So when Final Fantasy came, like what has been my escapism since childhood, came out and said, for our fantasy games, you're going to be driving a car. I just screamed and I just threw a brick at the wall. Like, it was awful.
I think I might like 15 more than anyone else on this call. And it's still one of my least favorite Final Fantasies.
Not helping the.
But what it does good, it emulates the experience of going on a road trip better than a whole lot of games. Now, I would also argue that there are now games that do a better job of it now. But at
Why
the
would
time,
you want to emulate that, though?
I really enjoy road trips.
Oh.
But that's me. I really enjoy a good road trip. I think that's also my difference between a lot of other people I know, that I love a good road trip. And this game did a really good job of the experience of being a good road trip. Now, it has other issues. The storyline is very spotty. I mean, literally very spotty, where if you play like the complete edition now, there was whole chunks of the game they didn't bother to explain. They just moved on past it in the initial playthrough. The game just wasn't done. And even now, I don't think it's really the form it should have been. It is a very broken game in that respect. It had a very broken production cycle. It had a very broken development. It and 13 both had real issues getting themselves made.
This 15, Final Fantasy 15, is the child of divorce, is what it is.
I can see that.
The whole game is a child of divorce. It's so sad.
Speaking of divorce and sad things happening, but it's still a very good video game, it's Final Fantasy XVI.
Hell yeah!
Yay! I love 16.
I can finally talk about it.
I like Final Fantasy 16.
All gas, no brakes.
That's right. You want brakes? No.
I was slightly more mixed on it. Like, I think, like, the gameplay is great, except for the parts where you're watching a movie. That's kind of frustrating.
I'm fine with that.
I really like the human drama, and the world building is great. When it gets to like the sci-fi and fantasy that's happening behind the scenes, I kind of felt like that fell a little flat for me. But otherwise, I'm glad I played it.
I felt like it was, in fact, the best Final Fantasy that they have made in a long time. I also felt like RPGs have clearly gone down 2 different paths. There is one path where you are super immersed, and it is, every little thing that you do is a decision that has consequences later, and it's these super non-linear stories, whereas this one was more like a movie, but it was really fun. It was a really nice movie. It was a good movie, and I enjoyed it.
This game got me to do all the side quests, which games seldom can get me to do. I'm very much a get from A to B, get to the end of the game as fast as possible kind of person. And this game actually got me to do all the side quests because they either gave you an interesting story, like a useful item or ability or something like that. And in one, they straight up kill a child, and you feel great about that child getting killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, never have I ever wanted to kill a child up until that cut.
Yeah.
Or that side quest. Oh my gosh.
This is the first game that made me go, is killing the child the correct choice in this situation?
And the answer is yes.
When is child murder ever okay? Final Fantasy XVI found that line.
People talk about how 16 is such a movie, and I feel that's really underselling how fun the actual gameplay really is. I will say I think it's the least RPG of any of the Final Fantasies. It's much more of a pure action game that just happens to have some RPG stuff bolted on. But it's really good action. They got one of the Devil May Cry guys to inject Devil May Cry into Final Fantasy, and it worked. It worked real good. And
they also listed Marvel vs. Capcom 2 as one of the influences to the game. So yeah, the combat system is real good.
I really enjoyed it. I thought I was pretty good at it.
And it was very good at it. Very, very good at it. And I just want to reiterate and point out that all the folks that made this good video game are also people behind making Final Fantasy XIV. So I'm just saying that if you like a lot of the stuff that this game, especially with the world building and the story it's telling and the things it's doing as far as that goes, you might enjoy Final Fantasy XIV.
All gas, no brakes, baby.
Music? Hell yeah.
What do we know about Final Fantasy XVII? What has been said about it?
Not a word. Not a word.
And that's fine, because we don't got time for no 17s. We've already got 18 games. We got to actually start ranking. So that's what we're going to do right now.
Okay.
So going to the bottom, moving on up top. We've actually put a lot of these already into tiers in our previous panels. So now you just get to reap the fruits of this labor. Also because we got like 30 minutes left to record on. In C. And again, we're going from the whole tier that we had the options for was like S through F. We actually ended up only using S through C.
Yeah, and I think that's wrong. I think Final Fantasy II needs to be put in F.
Boo! Boo!
I also disagree.
I would also argue that, again, the tiers are just a mechanism to get us through our numerical list. It's not, the tiers actually don't matter. So I'm using these tiers as an example of all these games are good at some level, but we're ranking them within each other. So in tier C, there are two of them, Final Fantasy II and Final Fantasy XV. So my question for you, Umi, is, do you want 2 at the bottom, or do you want the Regalia at the bottom? How much do you hate that card?
Oh yeah, I definitely want, you need to go ahead and just move 15 down to F tier. Like, I don't think anybody's going to defend it that much.
Like, how is 13 not in this?
Oh, 13 was because during MomoCon, John moved it up higher.
Ah.
Yeah, I held 14 hostage.
Yeah, I know. That's why I came in.
That's the reason we're gonna make him play this game. You heard it here. It's on audio.
No, it was 16 that I fell on the 14 sword for. I had to keep it in S.
So, just so everyone's clear, in the C bracket, there was only 2 of them, 2 and 15, and so our last 2 of the list is 2, then 15. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ratified.
Moving on to B. Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy XI. I'm going to say that in this, I would like to put, for me, I would go 5, 11, 8, 13.
I would put 8 above 11. And right now I put it above 5, but I've not finished 5.
So the big glaring error that I have seen this whole time, that I've been sitting back on trying not to comment about, but now is the time for it, is that in our tier list, we have Final Fantasy III as an A rank and Final Fantasy V as a B rank. And as much as I love both of these games, I really feel like that should be inverted. That Final Fantasy V should be the A rank, Final Fantasy III should be the B rank.
Is anyone opposed to that?
Not really.
No, if we just swap places, that's cool.
The one thing I want to add in defense of Final Fantasy III is simply Eternal Wind.
It's a really good track.
But too many jobs.
Now, on the rest of the B tier list, I do want to say this: Final Fantasy XIII should be down in C tier, and Final Fantasy II should be down in D tier.
Don't worry about the tiers.
Yeah, we already did 2 panels on the tiers. The tiers are where the tiers are.
I say flop 3 and 13 because I finished 13. I finished 3 and couldn't get past the tutorial of 13.
Well, 13 needs to be moved down a tier. 13 needs to be down in C.
13's not going down into C. I already.
No, John likes it, so.
We're just doing order, so
This is just order. So what we're saying is that 13 is still, as far as the worst games on the bottom of the list, going down to top, Final Fantasy 13 is still the third. So it is functionally the same as it being in C or B. The tiers are irrelevant.
Then why are we even doing a tier list?
We already did the tier list.
It's an organizational method.
I would put 11 at the back of B tier because, like, you can hardly play it.
You can totally play it.
That's not correct.
You can totally play
That
it.
is not correct. That is factually incorrect. Wrong. I literally played it 6 months ago.
I mean, good for you, but yeah, I'm not doing that.
do you have Stockholm Syndrome from 11 at this point?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Well, you're wrong. That has nothing to do with Stockholm Syndrome.
It's not that bad.
I would put Final Fantasy XI in the middle of B tier. It does not need to be before Final Fantasy VIII, but it certainly doesn't need to be below 13.
It does, because one of these I can just get on a computer and play. The other one, I have to, like, do some fucking witchcraft.
You do not have to do that. It is literally easy to install Play Online and just install it.
No, thank you.
I've done it like 5
Thank
times
you.
because I have Steam Deck. I have it on 2 computers here. I've done it several times.
This is the sword that Tobias will fall on.
I don't know why.
I don't either.
It is not difficult.
Final Fantasy XI runs better on computer than Final Fantasy 13 does.
Is 11 a cult? It feels like
Yeah,
a cult.
it's a
I'm
cult.
getting real cult vibes from this.
Wait, you're making up lies about it though. Like, it is easy to install. You can just do it.
I
You don't
made,
have to say the bullshit from 10 years ago. When have you tried? When is the last time have you tried?
I have never tried. I have not made any claims about 11. I'm just concerned.
Well, like, just if you there are complaints you can make, sure, but let's make real complaints. Let's not make up bullshit. Speaking of Strangers of Paradise, bullshit. It should be in B tier. Like, if 11 has issues, sure, but let's actually address real issues and not things that aren't true.
Everything I've heard, there's nothing easy about this game.
Why? Why are we playing this game? You couldn't play it on PS2 because nobody had that fucking modem.
Tons of people played it on PS2. Again, make up real reasons.
Hundreds, dozens, tons of people played it.
A lot of people played it. This is like the second most popular MMO back in its day. Like, sure, it was eventually outpaced, but like...
Not the one I thought would cause the drama.
It's also like the other MMO of its day. It was like it in World of Warcraft, and that was it. Why are we doing this?
Of the 4 games in B tier, what does everyone think the order of them should be? I don't really care. 3's the only one I've played.
I am okay with where it is now.
13, 8, 3, and 11.
For me, it is a case of I have B. I actually said how I'd want it, which is 8, 11, 3, and 13. And I really feel that the big pain point right now, this might be the biggest pain point in this entire tier ranking, honestly,
Yeah, I think so.
is where 11 and 13 go in this particular bracket.
I mean, I'm fine with it being...
Is 13 good actually, or is 11 good actually?
I mean, it's not going to escape B tier. That's perfectly fine. If it goes late, sure. Let's just, like, it's not going to go down to F tier. Like, just keep it where it is. Let's come to realization that it's going to be a B tier game. So whatever we rank it, I don't think it's like, that's not really the crux of my argument. It's just like, let's actually talk about the game if we're going to talk about it.
Let me jump on this 22-year-old MMO.
All these games that are like 30 years old, sure.
I say, from what I know, I feel like the story of 11 beats out the story of 13.
I mean, I just don't care. I don't care.
I know bare minimum. I played 13 more than I've played 11.
Huh. Well, 13 needs to be down in C tier, so.
Umi,
Okay.
we already did the tiers. The tiers are the tiers. We had 2 panels on them.
I know, I'm just saying.
How about this? Swap 3 and 13. That way 13 and 11 are in the middle, and just leave it at that.
What? No.
I don't care.
3 takes the fall for the conflict.
No one else is going to listen to this other than us anyway, so.
No, move 3 back up over 13. Oh my god, no. Okay, that's acceptable.
I know John's going to get probably actually more important games to him up higher.
Yeah.
And higher
Yes.
things, so it's fine. Okay, moving on. So we got the B bracket is done. It's 8, 11, 3, and 13. Now into A's, which is 12, 9, 10, and 5. I would probably move 5 up and 10 back, but otherwise I'm pretty okay with this. But what do y'all think?
Leave 10 where it is. Of all of these, I've not played 12, so like 9 and 10 are my top. But I'm fine with this.
I've not played 9 because someone stole it from me. They borrowed it from me and never gave it back.
What?
Yeah. I know his name. I remember it. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, I think these are all safe bets. Honestly, I within the tier itself, I don't really have strong opinions about where you rank them.
No. 12's where it needs to be.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I personally would order it a little bit different, but again, like, not with the burning passion that I want
13 and 8.
things to be lower tier than they are. like everything, I'm fine with everything that is in A tier being in A tier, if that's where the tiers are.
Yeah, it's gonna end up being order, and I'm okay with this. I've played 5 and a little bit of 12, so I don't have an opinion on most of these.
All right, so we're okay with 12, 9, 10, then 5.
No. Move 10 up ahead of 9.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that they're pretty even to me.
Okay.
All right, so 12, 10, 9, 5. We good?
Yeah, I feel like that's the more comfortable.
We got 1 tier and less than 20 minutes to go.
And this is the most jam-packed one, because at S, because we like these games, we have 6. We have Tactics. We have Lost Odyssey. We have the original Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy XIV, and Final Fantasy IV.
14 needs to go up and Tactics needs to go down.
Damn, shots fired.
6 is the best Final Fantasy. Put it at the top, you cowards.
I've never played it. I don't care. Nope, 6 can go away. I don't care.
Yes. No, 6 needs to be the number 1.
I played the opening.
I don't care.
I care. 6 needs to be number 1.
No, I know. So many people like 6. I am fine with keeping 6 number 1. But I do not agree about 14 being that low and Tactics being that high.
Well,
This is the one we're actually going to murder each other about.
yeah, for real.
Okay. I will say that I would also be fine putting Tactics, like, right after 14.
Tactics is number 1.
I mean, I'll say the same thing I said at MomoCon. I like 14 a lot. 14 is a very deeply important game to me. There are some like institutional things that I think put it a little lower than some of the offline single player games. As much as I love it, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with John that Tactics should go above it.
I agree with Tobias.
I know it's going to be like a betrayal. I know Anna's going to kill me.
Absolutely hate Tactics. It's a shit game. It is absolutely shit.
You're just wrong. You're just wrong on that.
No, No, I'm kidding. Y'all are not wrong. You have your opinion. I have my opinion. I know I'm gonna lose this fight anyway, but
I mean, they're all like S tier, so there's no losers in this tier.
if you want to swap 14 and Tactics, I can't say anything. But that's as low as I want 14 to be.
I mean, I enjoy 14 more than Tactics, but I also play Tactics so hard I can never play a strategy game ever again. So
So you've never played Triangle Strategy.
I know I need to play that much. Too many games.
I mean, we all know Lost Odyssey is going at the top of the list.
See, I feel like it should be in the bottom since only one person's played it.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Lost Odyssey. Like, if I couldn't, like, Basil left the game in my house for a long, long time, and I still could not be moved to play it. I feel like that is, in fact, a detractor from the game, even if it's just, I never got around to it. So I won't, like, passionately argue that it needs to be on the lower tier. But, maybe it doesn't need to be at the top of the tier.
I could say things that make people mad.
Yeah.
Again, I know it may be the best game. Honestly, we could all play it and think it deserves to be the top. But since none of us have played it, I feel like it should be at the bottom.
I do kind of feel like we agree on the top 3. We can't agree on the order, but we at least agree that,
Yeah.
like...
I think that's fair, yeah.
And legit, I do agree that 16 is better than 7. And I know that I really enjoyed 16. I still need to do the Leviathan DLC, but...
I'm not a 7 enjoyer, but I don't care. Like, I know that is the unpopular opinion.
Why do you guys keep saying that you don't care? Like you're doing this, we're talking about this. Care about it.
I've enjoyed 7. I've enjoyed I've enjoyed Remake, and we need to finish Rebirth. I did like it. I remember liking it when I played it. But I do, and maybe I'll feel differently once once I finish all the remakes and everything and remember everything fresher, because I don't remember a whole lot past the plate falling out. Past us leaving Midgard, I don't remember a whole lot.
I mean, I'll say, I'm glad that 7 is in S tier. I think I'm okay with that. If it was at the bottom of S tier, I would be okay with it. It is very historically important. I do think there is some overhype, overrated, which kind of brings the overall tone down. Although I'm glad we all have remembered that it is actually an important, historically good game overall. So if it's on the lower end of S, I'm okay with that.
I think the first Final Fantasy probably has to go lower because, if you're playing the Pixel Remaster, good for you. If we're talking about the original NES game, that game was rough.
I loved that. I loved it, though.
That's my childhood you're dragging down the tier.
Exactly! Although I'm not going to argue with it too much. The one I am going to argue with is I don't think 16 should be that high.
Yeah.
It definitely should.
I don't feel like any of the other games past it beat it.
7.
4.
7 should be higher.
7, it doesn't.
4 should be higher.
I enjoyed 4. I really did like. I'm trying to think between stories between 4 and 16. I don't know which one I would say. They both are pretty equal to me.
Well, 7 should at least be higher than 14.
No.
Yes.
No.
It should. It's historically more important.
At this point, I don't know.
Final Fantasy was never more important than it was when Final Fantasy VII came out. Just in terms of what it meant for the gaming industry at the time.
I also think we need to remember that this is less of an objective list, and also, this is the OSMcast sort of tier ranking, so there is going to be some difference between this and whatever other metric you use.
We never agreed on a consistent methodology. Also, OSMcast
true.
is gonna have 14 bias, and you just have to accept that.
I mean, I would also say that if we want cultural cachet, the 2 most important games in this whole thing is in fact Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy XIV. They are the 2 most important ones. They're the only, Final Fantasy VII, when it came out, it was on Pepsi bottles. You could buy, at the time, Final Fantasy XIV on Mrs. Fields. You could go out to Arby's and get yourself a Final Fantasy XIV commemorative cup. Hardee's. A commemorative cup.
Except not in Huntsville, you had to go to Florence to get that.
Well, yeah, so move it up. Move it up 1.
I will say, I will be okay with it going above 16 because of historical significance.
Ha-ha!
But I like 16 better.
Okay, so right now what we've got is 6, 14, Tactics, 7, 16, 4, 1, Lost Odyssey.
7 should really be above Tactics.
I mean, that I'll agree with.
Definitely, no.
John, I love Tactics too. I know what you're talking about. I love it too. These are the best of the good. But 7 should really, being honest with ourselves, deep in our hearts, 7 should be above Tactics.
It's not a better game than Tactics.
But
Well, again, with the cultural cachet is one aspect, sure, but this is still the OSMcast list, and I do feel like while we all acknowledge 7's goodness, we're not all in love with it at a large level in the same way that we are in love with these top 3 games. 6, I think we're all creaky old millennials by this point. We all know what 6 is. 14, most of us like it for reasons. Tactics is, again, extremely good game with extremely good story, and John is literally about to kill somebody over tactics. So as far as the OSMcast ranking is concerned, I feel like this really works.
We have our top 3.
I'm surprised Basil hasn't pushed for 4 or more, but I think he knows in his heart of heart that it's not a good game. That's my hot take.
Oh, no.
Tobias just throwing down some fighting words.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's
Now,
not wanting to fight me, I feel like, right now.
like, I am... Look,
Got him.
I fully understand that I love 4 more deep in my heart and soul than any of y'all, and the fact that it gets to live in S tier is in fact good enough for me where it is. I can, because this is a group project, I am okay with its current position.
Helps, honey. I like it better than 6.
Well, you haven't finished playing 6.
I haven't started 6.
Like 6 is something really, really special. I 4 is my most nostalgic pick, but I think 6 is the best pick.
I almost want to say, like, I have been a proponent of 6. We don't have to put that at number 1, but then I feel like
No, we have to put that at number 1.
it's keeping the peace between 14 and tactics there. That's what it's doing.
Somehow Kefka is keeping the peace. I think I never would have imagined.
Well, if we put 14 or tactics up there, there's going to be a fight.
There is.
So it's taking that spot. It's keeping the peace. This is diplomacy.
So honestly, like, I know how much 6 means to not even just this group, but I think of like Knuckles and other people that we know. Like, I know how important it is to people. So and just because I haven't played it doesn't mean that I don't know that. So like, I'm perfectly fine with leaving it there.
I was kind of thinking about the music and how I rate the music tracks between each one. And like, damn, there's so many bangers in this entire tier. Like, all these games have amazing tracks that just, it's really hard to rank them based on that, too.
Uematsu and Soken, top tier composers.
Yeah, two Soken games here. I mean, 6 is like Uematsu at his top, really. Tactics is like, Tactics sounds different than the other games, but it's like, it's unique in a way that stands out from the other stuff. Like, 7's great, too. And it's like, oh, man, every one of these games, great music, man. Can't lose.
Yeah, that is true. Like, all of these games in the top tier are top tier.
I mean, even though I said that about 13, I don't think any Final Fantasy game has terrible music.
And I honestly think the concept of it being, quote, so anime, I really think there is something about 13's music that it is different. It is very different compared to any other Final Fantasy. It is its own unique thing. And I just don't think we've figured out
We have a great time playing it in Dance Rhythm.
I think we just haven't quite figured out how to explain how it's different. But it is good, but it is different. No, I think our order is pretty good. And I will say, for John, I know, is that I don't think any other group would put 16 as high as we've put 16.
No, probably not.
I agree with 16 being as high as it is. I really, 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 really like 16. That was one of my favorite games I played the year it came out.
Are we going to get outrage clicks from this ranking?
Probably.
Yeah.
I hope so.
People listen to our podcast? What?
I mean, dozens.
They will when people yell about it on Blue Sky or Twitter or whatever. Can you believe these people?
Like, again, like I am personally, like, out of all this, like, my brain does flip-flop between 7 and Tactics, but I do kind of agree where they are. No, I think this overall is a good tier, a good overall ranking. So, the greatest Final Fantasy game of all time is Final Fantasy VI.
Yay!
Followed by 14.
Get there one day.
Shocked to hear that.
Then Tactics, then 7, then 16, then 4, then the OG, then Lost Odyssey, the game that only I love, then 12, then 10.
Oh God, is that Chrono Trigger's music? Just broke Final Fantasy VI in half. Oh my God.
Look, if Chrono Trigger was in this,
We don't play that game too.
like, that is, well, Chrono Trigger might be the best RPG. Like, that is an entirely separate thing. But no, we got 6, 14, Tactics, 7, 16, 4, 1, Lost Odyssey, 12, 10, 9, 5, 8, 11, 3, 13, 2, and the worst video game in Final Fantasy of all time, is Final Fantasy XV's car.
Yeah.
It's 15's car, yes.
Move it down to F tier.
I will move it to F tier just because.
Well, no, wait. So can we say that Final Fantasy 15 can be in C, but the car can go to F? Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah, there we go.
15, then 15's car.
Yeah, the car goes to F for fast.
But that's my favorite mount.
I don't use that mount.
Good mount.
The Regalia is the worst Final Fantasy.
By the way, Amy, don't play patch 7.2 because there might be a new car in this game.
Ugh, cars. I hate them.
But that one at least is optional. You don't got to use that one.
It's not the focus point of the game.
All right, folks. We've got it. We've done it. Final Fantasy will never have to be ranked ever again until 17 comes out.
Oh, God.
Wait, we forgot Crystal Chronicles. Where's Crystal Chronicles?
Yeah. Where's
Oh,
Crystal
oh,
Chronicles?
oh, God.
Too late.
Look.
We already decided.
I didn't enjoy that one. I tried real hard.
It's S plus tier.
I tried
loved
real
Crystal
hard.
Chronicles.
I know, and that's why I tried for you.
Aw.
I couldn't do it.
Well, I think I know of like 3 people who enjoy Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. It's me, Basil, and my friend
Tobias.
who.
Yeah,
that?
now you know 4 people.
Now I know 4 people. We have a whole party now.
Yeah, let's play.
Oh my gosh! Okay, let's play.
I really should have played with them when they played. They played for like a few months straight every Tuesday.
Yeah, we played last year on the Switch version. It was great.
Well, next time you do a playthrough, invite me along. I want to be in on it.
Hell yeah.
There you have it. Our ranking of Final Fantasy. All 16 mainline games plus 2 bonus games. And while John tried to sneak in Chrono Trigger there at the end, what really snuck in was Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which on one hand does have Final Fantasy in the name and, importantly, was the first Final Fantasy to come to a mainline Nintendo console since Final Fantasy VI, because, well, Square Enix really wanted to port their WonderSwan games of their versions of Final Fantasy II and beyond to the Game Boy Advance. And Crystal Chronicles was directed by Akitoshi Kawazu, who was the director of Final Fantasy II. So it has just as an important pedigree as any other Final Fantasy, really, if you think about it. But you're not here to talk about Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, or rather, I'm not here to talk about it. You did, and you're not here to listen to it, but you just did. Anyways, this has been a production of both the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome, but also the Carbuncle Chronicle, your podcast for everything awesome in Final 14. You can find both the podcasts at OSMcast.com, OSMcast.com, as we are both part of the OSMcast family of podcasts, alongside things like the Awesome Quest, when we did tabletop things, or Awesome Table, where Dylan goes through and hosts roundtable discussions about tabletop role-playing games. And of course, John really gets his work in being the greatest living interviewer for all our awesome. You can find all these things at awesomecast.com, including, of course, the mainline show, the Awesomecast, and the Carbuncle Chronicle. We've also got YouTube pages for both the Awesomecast and Carbuncle Chronicle. We ask that you please, if you would please, review us either on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Please give us a review with all the stars possible give. We also do have a Discord you can check out, and a Patreon where we'll do like actual bonus shows that will not require me to take literally half a year to edit. That would be nice. You'll find those things, again, at the website. We also have a TeePublic if you want to get cool t-shirts and things. This episode was edited by me, Basil. How you doing? How's it going? The theme song was done by our buddy James Inobito. You can find his stuff at djinobito.com. The Carbuncle Chronicle theme was arranged by Anna. You can find the Awesomecast and Carbuncle Chronicle on all very social media platforms you probably want. That's not TikTok because I'm old. I don't understand how that works. At either Awesomecast or Carbuncle Chronicle, or in some cases, Carbicast. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening for so long. Until next time, we're out. But also, never, ever forget, you take the Bone Dragon up north. So we're all here. I can hear everyone. Everyone can hear me and everyone else.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Hold on. It's good. My window, I thought it closed, but had not actually closed. So I still have Craig the web app here. Cool. Continue.
All right. Excellent. Cool. Let me pull up my thing.
Hell yeah.
Man, we horny tonight. Damn.
I mean, that's just the awesome cast, honestly. Okay. Music goes here.
I'm not Kevin, so I can't do the thing that he does.
Now we have no bacon, no hope, no cash.